Hi, I'm Mark Jardine and this is Sail for Gold Live in Lymington. As you can see behind me, we've got all of the juniors ready for their junior racing, and they're all going to be inspired by everything that went on in Rio yesterday. Nick Dempsey confirmed his silver medal in the RSX men's class, and then Giles Scott, the last two races of his main series, and he managed to get a 24-point lead, which confirms gold medal for Giles in the Finn class. Last night, I caught up with Andy Rice in Rio to hear about all of the day's action.
I'm speaking with Andy Rice in Rio for everything on day 7 of the Olympic sailing competition. And it was a huge day for the Brits, with Giles Scott securing gold in the Finn class a day early, with a 24-point lead going into the medal race.
Yeah, it was a massive day. It was the one that we all expected Great Scott to be able to do, but so many of the other favourites have faltered at this venue. But Giles has absolutely lived up to his billing. It didn't start so well at the beginning of the series with that 17th place on the Sugarloaf Mountain course. It is so random there, and I think that really gave Giles the motivation he needed to make sure that he wrapped up this gold before the racing was brought back onto that Sugarloaf course, which is where the silver and the bronze will be decided in 2 days' time. Yeah, really pleased for Giles that he's managed to do what he's promised to do for such a long time now.
It continues a streak for Great Britain in the Finn class, stretching back to 2000 and Ian Percy, and of course the run by Sir Ben Ainslie. It's remarkable how good the country has been in the class.
Yeah, and some of the background staff deserve some credit for that, starting with David Sid Howlett, who was a great Finn sailor back in the 70s, I think it was. He might have represented Great Britain. And Sid was very instrumental in sort of really working out what makes a Finn go fast. And then there have been others in the background, and I'm going to miss a few. But for example, Jez Fanstone, who's now moved on to work with New Zealand, heading up the New Zealand Olympic team, and Matt Howard, who now works with Giles Scott and has worked with the Finns for a long, long time now, probably the best part of a decade. So it was great to see Giles give Matt Howard a big hug today, and yeah, they looked pretty emotional today. And Giles even admitted that there was a tear in his eye. And he said, I'm not normally the emotional type, so I didn't really see that coming. But yeah, even the unemotional Giles Scott couldn't keep the tears at bay today.
It is great that you've mentioned it's such a team effort behind everyone. Moving on to the RSX men, gold and silver already wrapped up, and Nick Dempsey's last race in the Olympic windsurfing, or at least we think it's going to be his last race. But both him and Dorian couldn't help it. They just carry on racing as hard as they possibly could all the way through the medal race.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to watch the TV coverage, which, by the way, I thought looked fantastic today. I thought what we saw of the RSX racing was pretty good, and really impressive to see just how athletic these guys are, particularly when they tack these boards. And someone was telling me earlier, I'm trying to remember who, but it was João Rodriguez, who I was talking to earlier today. He didn't quite make the medal race, but age 44, he's just hung up his harness and done 7 Olympic campaigns for Portugal in the windsurfer. He was saying there's something about Dorian. He seems to be able to go from 15 knots into a jibe and emerge out of that jibe at 16 knots. He just seems to be in a class of his own, and he's taken the way that they sail these boards to a new level. And you could see that today. I mean, Dorian just looked so comfortable out there, and the gold medalist won the final medal race and then celebrated that with the Dutch royal family on a boat straight afterwards. So it's a very, very big deal for the Netherlands, but also obviously a very, very big deal for Nick Dempsey. He's now got 2 silvers and a bronze to his name, and he caps off an incredible career. I say caps off. A couple of months ago, he sort of gave me one of those Steve Redgrave quotes if you ever see me on a board again, then shoot me. But I didn't hear him say this today, but I've seen a quote that suggests that maybe he is still saying never say never, but I don't know. I'd be really surprised if he comes back for another one.
Well, let's watch this space. Moving on to the RSX women, it was a really intense battle for the gold, and the French lady Charlene Picon won in the end, but a massive battle in very difficult conditions. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, the start was quite significant because up at the committee boat end, Stefania Elfutina was vying for space with Britain's Bryony Shaw, and Elfutina, just 19 years old, didn't manage to find that space, barged in on Bryony and was given a penalty, which put the Russian right at the back, and she was, I think, the joint leader going into the medal race, so she really was in pole position for the gold, and she thought she'd thrown it all away, but she managed to fight her way back to seventh, which we'll come to in a moment. Meanwhile, Picon, not a great start, not as bad as Elfutina's, but just used really good pace to get herself up to second by the top mark. The Chinese sailor Peina Chen was really fast on the downwind and looked like she was good. Well, she went from sixth to second and looked like she had the legs to get past Picon as well, which would have been good enough for the gold for China. But Picon managed to hold on in the light winds towards the end, and won gold. So along with Pierre Lecoq, who took the bronze in the men's earlier, which was the best that he could have hoped for, because we've just talked about the gold and silver that was gone. The French are the top performing windsurfing nation at Rio 2016. So it was gold for France, it was silver for China, and then there was a little bit of doubt about who was going to get the bronze. That was also very, very close. But in the end, it was Elfutina that did fight back from that terrible start. Okay, she didn't get the gold, she didn't get the silver, but that 19-year-old, she is only 19, managed to get her first Olympic medal.
Watching the end of that race, it was exhausting just to see. So the effort that the sailors must have put in was extraordinary.
Yes, it was. Although, I still don't think watching the TV shots, you still really get a full sense of just how hard they are working. I feel that they, along with the laser and the fin, particularly the laser and the fin, where they're often so static in the boat upwind. Any of us that has ever tried hiking out any of these boats knows how hard it is. But I sometimes think that maybe it still doesn't come across enough. Maybe at the next Games in Tokyo 2020, with all the technology that the Japanese would love to apply, we'll be getting live heart readings off the windsurfers as well, because I think that will really bring it home as to how hard these sailors are working.
It really is a display of athleticism. Now, moving on to the 470s, a great day for Hannah Mills and Saskia Clark, who are in pole position now with a 4-point lead.
Yes, it probably could have been better, because I'm pretty sure that watching the tracking, I think they were doing a lot better than the 10th place that they finished in the first race today. But the 10th translated into an 8th when everything was taken into account, because there were two teams that were UFD disqualified for starting too soon. And most significantly of those two teams were the reigning Olympic champions, Joe Ali and Polly Parry from New Zealand. Now, these are the arch rivals of Hannah and Saskia. They already got disqualified in the first race of the series, and now they've really given themselves a mountain to climb if they're going to defend their Olympic gold. So that has played into the hands of the Brits. And now it's one of the slightly less known teams, the Americans, Annie Hager and Brianna Provancha, who are now in second overall, 4 points behind the Brits. And in third place, it's a Slovenian team. So slightly less familiar teams behind the Brits, which hopefully should play into their hands.
And not such a good day for the British men's team. Luke Patience and Chris Groob actually caught over the line in the first race of the day, and then following that up with the 20th has dropped them down to 10th position overall.
Yeah, so these UFD disqualifications I was just talking about, a U flag being sort of the more popular version of the old black flag used by race committees more and more these days. It caught out the Brits there, unfortunately, and Yeah, that's really tough on them. It's going to be very hard for Luke Patience to repeat any kind of medal, to go with the silver that he got in London 2012, I think.
And the Croatians, Simi Fantella and Igor Marenic, just continue to put together an extraordinary series.
Yeah, I mean, they're discarding a fourth. They're not even having to count a fourth place from their scores. They got a 3 and a 4 today, and the Aussies got an 8 and a 10. And this was always going to be billed as the duel between the reigning world champions, the Croatians, and the reigning Olympic champions, the Australians. And, well, I mean, I still thought the Aussies were going to take this one, but increasingly it looks like the Croatians really have the temperament for this, and they've had a fantastic season all throughout 2016. And so the fact that they're leading quite comfortably now with an 11-point gap, it's no fluke. I mean, these guys have been showing all year that they're capable of this. And you know what? It's quite possible that Croatia could come out of these Olympic Games as the top sailing nation, because they're leading in the laser going into tomorrow's medal race. They're leading in the 470. I think their Finn sailor may well be in third place at the moment going into the medal race there, and they've probably got a couple of others that I haven't thought about. And you never know, Croatia could actually beat Great Britain, could actually beat Australia, New Zealand, and all these other larger nations that we tend to think about as the dominant sailing nations.
It's a superb performance by the nation, and we're watching it with great interest. Now, moving on to the NACRA 17s, it's been a regatta of two halves for Ben Saxton and Nicola Groves. They started off so well. What happened for the second half of their main series?
You know what? I haven't been able to watch it closely enough to really make any kind of conclusion on that. The observation that was made to me for yesterday's racing out on the ocean was that maybe it was that lack of multi-hull experience that told against them yesterday, and maybe it's the sort of the instinctive nature that you need to apply to the really shifty, fluky stuff on the inner courses that has been playing into their hands, particularly on that very first day. So, I mean, I'm sort of going off third-party observations here, and I don't honestly know, but it's not been a good day for them, and they are now out of contention for certainly contesting the gold, and I can't remember the scores. You might know better than I whether they still have. It's
19 points, which by my calculations would take a very strange turn of events for them to be able to medal.
Yes, that would take somebody else to get letters in their score in the medal race for them to have any chance at all. So I think they're done, unfortunately.
They're not the only ones who've struggled with consistency in the NACRAs. Jason Waterhouse and Lisa Darmanin, who were leading the event, then suddenly get a 12th and a 17th at the end of their series to drop them to 4th. It seems incredibly difficult to get good results all the time.
Yes, it does. I mean, it really has seemed to have characterised the NACRA racing. Well, for me, it's incredible to find that Santiago Lange, the oldest competitor in the whole sailing competition here at Rio, age 57, already with 2 Tornado medals to his name from a few Olympics back, now finds himself in the lead. And so that's an incredible performance by the 57-year-old.
So it seems you just need an old head on your shoulders just to use that experience and get through the fleet.
It is beginning to look that way, because none of the leading contenders, none of the helms anyway, are particularly young. So maybe there is something telling there. And also I think possibly what's telling is that it's the old multi-hull specialists that are taking up the top few places. And Ben Saxton and Nicola Groves have done a remarkable job of adapting themselves to the NACRA 17, but primarily they come from a dinghy background, and maybe that's telling against them.
And moving on to Monday, the highlight will be the Laser and Laser Radial medal races. And Nick Thompson, 10 points off bronze medal position. Do you think he's got a chance?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of those scores, but 10 points is 5 places in a double points medal race. So, yeah, strange things can happen, and it wouldn't even need to be that strange for that to happen. So it is very doable. And, wow, does he deserve it? I mean, I really want to see him come away with something here, because he's been knocking on the door of greatness for a long, long time. He's won the World Championships for the past 2 years. So it would be nothing less than he's capable of to go and get that medal.
Well, the Sail for Gold Roadshow is in Lymington tomorrow, and he has a huge number of fans in the town. So we are all going to be fully behind him in his quest for the bronze medal. Andy, once again, many thanks for your time, and let's all get behind Nick for the medal race.
Thanks very much, Mark. Yes, and my fingers here in Rio 2016 will also be crossed for Nick tomorrow. Thanks again.
We also spoke to Matt Howard out in Rio about Giles Scott's win and what it meant to carry on the amazing heritage that Britain has in the Finn class.
Well, huge range of emotions really. I mean, it's been a pretty long road with Giles since 2007, and it's been three and a half years since we put together the project for this Olympics. So of course there's a bit of relief on his previous record. There's been quite a lot of pressure on us to perform and to keep his game going and at the top level from all those previous events, but also just unbelievable elation really. I was pretty emotional, very emotional. I had to have a word with myself on the water because he hadn't actually finished the race, and I was starting to well up. In fact, I know for a fact he had to have a word with himself as well because he was doing the same thing. But over the moon with it all, and it's been a great ride. It's getting incredible amount of pressure. I mean, I've said it before that most of the pressure he puts on himself, but equally, we in the Finn class for TeamGB have had gold medals in Sydney with Ian Percy, and then Ben Ainsley won in Athens, Beijing and London. So that's quite a history to come up with. So that's a lot of pressure, but it's also down to what a venue we've got here, where you just can't take anything for granted. It's really it's just, you never knew till the last moment whether he could win it. And the Olympics is a funny old event where favourites often don't perform. So that's a lot of pressure and a lot of relief, a lot of outpouring. He's moved on in lots of areas of his game, really, and whether that's down to losing to Ben or not, I couldn't really say. I mean, obviously he's 4 years further down the line with his training. We spend 250 days on the water a year, so you're just going to get better as you go on. But I think the big thing is his attention to detail is significant. Every little thing it's almost a OCD sort of thing. So which means that the work level that he puts in, and I do as well in supporting him, is huge. We just spend so much time on the big things first, obviously, but right down to the finest detail, and it's been paying off.
I'm here with Sophie Weglin and Elliot Hansen to talk about today's racing. First of all, Sophie, the 470 girls, fantastic results so far. How are they going to keep up their performance?
Yeah, the girls had a great day yesterday. It's nice to see them getting in some consistent results. They've got a really good series on the go, and just keep knocking in the good results.
And for Luke and Chris, a difficult one yesterday with being caught over the line in the first race. How are they going to turn things round and get back on their medal track?
Yeah, it's tough for the boys getting an OCS yesterday. Obviously that'll set them back as their new discard, so a couple more solid races today. If they can get in a couple of good races and just stay consistent, keep it really simple, then I think they'll have a solid day to bring them back up into the hunt.
And Elliot, Nick's got it all to do in the medal race. He can still get a bronze medal, only 10 points away. What strategies will he be using in the race?
The points in the laser medal race are all so tight. He's just got to go out there and win it, and kind of hope that the other boats don't have such a good race. That's all he can do, because there's 4 or 5 boats which are all in the shout for that bronze medal, and he can't control all of them, especially on that medal race course.
And Alison Young, should she just go out and enjoy the medal race experience?
Yeah, I think she'll gain as much as she can from it. I know I'm sure she'll be keen to carry on her Olympic dream going on the next 4 years. And I think she'll just go out there and gain as many points as she can on the other boat. She won the last fleet race, so hopefully she can pick up from where she left off.
Things have been so tight on the laser courses. How do you put together a consistent series, and how have they managed to keep themselves in check during the racing?
It's a tricky one. The racing's always going to be so tight on the laser. The speed differences are minimal, and the differences in the boats are minimal, and the differences in the sailors are minimal. So naturally, it's always going to be so tight. It's all about who can kind of piece it together on the day, and it can only be the difference between one wind shift that can ultimately be the difference whether you're in the shout for that gold medal or not, which is kind of what we've seen this week. But we're all still cheering Nick and Ali on from Lymington today.
And Sophie, there are 3 races left for the 470 fleets. Do you think they're going to be able to put in the results that really put them in prime position going into their medal races?
I really hope so. We've done a lot of work with Hannah and Sass and Luke and Twiggy, and they've both got good processes, and they'll go out and do the right thing to make sure that they're definitely in the hunt going into the medal races on Wednesday.
Well, Sophie, Elliot, we're going to be watching the medal races with great interest and really hoping that our British sailors can do the job. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you've got any questions, please send them through on Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag sailforgold. We'll all be watching the medal race tonight and hoping that Nick Thompson can get that bronze medal. Tune in tomorrow, same time.